Good morning, everybody. Welcome to The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It will be live streamed. This is now an exclusive conversation. We are only in our Facebook group and on YouTube at RickyAllmon. Stephen and I have been looking forward to this from episode one. This was our plan so we could totally turn up about leadership and life in a digital world. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. RickyAllmon, along with my fellow host, brother, friend, and confidant, the Reverend StephenThurston. We're so glad to be here with you today. Well, guess what? Because we're exclusive, you don't have a whole lot of work to do. So you don't have to share this and tag anybody because you can't. They have to already be in the group. So if you want to be able to have conversation with your folk, you got to invite them to join the group, ask them to stop by. As soon as they start putting in Revolution, the group is going to pop up. They need to answer 4 questions. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all multiple choice. Come in, answer the question. Because I had to decline some people today. I didn't want to do that. And I did it right after prayer this morning. I had to do a 5 o'clock prayer. Pastor Tisha, I saw you come through on me this morning. I appreciate it. I had to do 5 o'clock prayer. Right after prayer, I had to reject people. After I led people to know God accepted them as they were, I had to turn folk down. Answer those questions, but invite your friends. As a matter of fact, let me tell you who this is for. This is for pastors, entrepreneurs, consultants, digital content creators, social media influencers, corporate executives, educators, and as my brother Stephen, go ahead and say it, will you please?
Lottie Dottie and everybody.
Okay, you know this is a
you got to get plugged into this.
You got to get plugged in. So anybody you know that's it. And the reality is we're all leaders and we're all in leadership because leadership is simply influence. So if you influence your goldfish, you in leadership.
Your leadership.
So you need to be able to, what's the purpose of this group, Stephen?
Man, it's to maximize potential, mobilize purpose, and multiply productivity. It's to help people to get from where they are to where they want to be in all facets of life. We just dropping nuggets, tools, tips, hints. We're spurring you, we're pushing you, we're prodding you, and we're stimulating you to get to where you need to be in life. It's not time for procrastination. It's time for pivot and productivity, which is what we're going to plug into today.
So here's what's cool about being in the group. If you're part of the group, you don't have to filter through to find the previous episodes. Every episode is right here in the group. That's the power of the group. And that's all that we put it in. Now, we'll be sharing some other tools. Stephen and I will probably create some ebooks. I'm not trying to add work to him, but if I got to work, he's working too. So we'll be giving you all some stuff, that's exclusive to you all, that the world won't get before you all get it. So stay connected, invite others to join the group. As a matter of fact, if you invite somebody today, guess what? They get to see all of this content. And we've got some other things planned. I got to tell them about this, Stephen. You and I were talking the other night. So we really want to make this interactive in a real way and not just interactive via Facebook group. But what we plan to do in a few episodes is we're going to allow access to those that are part of the group to actually join in the Zoom and actually chat with us while we're talking to you in real time. So we've got some other things we're going to be doing here, but we're so glad to be here. Stephen, we've got 2 amazing guests. They are returning guests. They're trying to help our show get up to the level it ought to be. They felt like we needed some help today, so they had to come through. Will you please introduce our first guest?
Sure thing, man. She is the reigning champion of New York.
The queen is here.
She's taking over everything in New York right now. She's serving currently as the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton, the founder of Who's That Lady, which focuses on women in the biblical text, exposing them. And she is a new author, Ricky. I don't know if I told you this, but her book is about to drop. So I want her to talk about that and share with our audience what's about to hit the bookshelves and about to be a New York Times bestseller.
Yes.
Pastor Tish Dixon-Williams is with us today.
And you got to come back on, Tish, and talk about your book.
I'd be happy to. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
We look for hopefully our platform can sell at least about 10,000. You know what I'm
Go
saying?
on here now.
Yeah,
Come on.
we need to
You
move
in the
it.
spirit. You in the spirit right
I'm
now.
trying to. I'm trying.
I quicken.
And then we're also glad to have with us a prodigious young man. He's a digital content creator, graphic designer, and that's limiting. Brilliant mind. I call him the young lion. He's definitely a creative genius. He's turning 30.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of us can remember when we turn. I know I see, I don't know if we can remember when we turned 30, but he's turning 30. But he's got some amazing things coming. So at the end, we're going to have both of our guest co-hosts talk about what they're doing, what they've got coming up, how you can stay connected. But Mr. Gary A. Foster Jr., thank you so much, sir, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, man. It's an honor to be here with everybody.
We appreciate it. So our subject today is the pivot from pandemic to productivity.
Yeah.
Something I was thinking about this week is with this pandemic being prolonged, for some of us it is. For others of us, Stephen and I talked about this at the beginning, and we knew at the beginning that the end was not in sight.
Yes, sir.
So he and I had already settled that whatever this evolution was, it was going to be very fluid.
Yep.
And that it would be ongoing. But for those who feel like this is prolonged, you're the leader that I want to talk to, particularly in this introduction. The reason is because I believe a lot of leaders have come to discover, Stephen, that they've had the wrong concept of vision. Because most leaders think vision is to a goal, not through a goal.
Say it again, Rick. Hit the button.
Okay.
Da-da-da-da. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Most leaders think vision is to a goal, not through a goal.
Yes.
So what has happened during this pandemic is the average leader, you know who you are, all they were trying to do was make sure they could get on live stream.
That's it.
Make sure they could facilitate Zoom meetings. Make sure they had their Facebook up and Facebook Live up.
Yes.
And they thought, okay, I'm going to do this just to get us over these next 3 or 4 months. Well,
right.
3 or 4 months is now 5 or 6 months. And the way the projections look, we're very well looking at least a year, maybe 2. And even with that, whatever happens after the second year of this, if it persists that long, is not going to look anything like what March 1st, 2020 looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So for leaders, whatever your context or idiom of leadership is, you've got to understand how to capture vision in pandemic. So don't think post-pandemic, think in pandemic, because the new normal will always have in it the residual effects of what we're in right now.
Yes, sir.
So even when they've immunized us, or whoever's getting immunized for this COVID-19, I'll reserve my preference on that. But whoever would dare to try something that's only 70%, somebody said, no, thank you. Even if they find a vaccination for this, understand we'll still be infected and affected by it. And so it's changed the landscape of leadership. Here is how you have to shape vision. And I need every leader to hear this. You shape vision by looking out to your furthest expectation and then plan for what's going to happen after that. Let me give it to you again. Vision is looking out to your furthest expectation So imagine the most creative thing you can do during this time. Imagine what would give the most leverage to your influence, to your voice, to your message, to your product, to your book. Imagine what would maximize your creativity. And when you think out as far as you can, then think at least 10 steps beyond that. Now you've got vision. Because yes.
Let me jump in.
Please.
Since we're going to have real, raw, and relevant conversation, I think some of the problem in individuals in leadership being able to do what you just suggested is that they don't have vision. They have good copying skills.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
We go to conferences, workshops, tune in to virtual conferences and sessions, and we see what our idol, the popular leader, the popular pastor is doing, and we just try to bring it back and tweak it for our context. So there's really no real creativity there.
And you're speaking truth. And it's interesting because vision isn't duplication.
Yes.
Vision is multiplication. I'm going to say that again. Vision isn't duplication. Vision is multiplication. It's not vision if you're simply copying what somebody has already done.
Yeah.
Because basically all you're ensuring is that when you accomplish whatever the goal was that you copied, you're ensuring that you won't have any sustainability.
Correct.
To not only maintain what you did, but if vision is multiplication, to go beyond what you did. So now it's like you put on clothes that's not tailored for you. You know, in concept, it looks good, but it doesn't look good on you.
On you.
And so that is the key. And honestly, Stephen, that's where this false narrative of vision has come from. I hate to say it, but since we're out here, it's come from a lot of the conferences and leadership events that people have went to where individuals really come to just brag about what they've done.
Yes.
Instead of, I said, since you took me out there.
Yes, sir. Let's stay here.
Equipping and empowering people to discover what's best for them. And unless as a leader, you have to think like this. You have to think like an artist. As a leader, you have to think like an artist. And you have to say, okay, what does my organization look like without me? If I was no longer here, what is it that I want to deposit here?
Yes.
That would allow this to look like something bigger than me when I'm no longer here. Now that's vision. And once you get that picture, because that's what an artist does. An artist sees the completed masterpiece and works backwards. That's what vision is.
Yes, sir.
See it without you in it. See it after you've retired, which will then help you to expedite your retirement. I digress.
Say it again. Say it again.
because once you see it without you, I'm about to get in trouble right now. Once you see it without you, you'll realize that you're probably the most unnecessary piece.
Yeah.
For what needs to happen now to get to that point.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Because the reality for a leader is you're only as necessary as what you're creating to function without you in it.
I think this is a good spot because I know.
Say something. Go ahead.
We both for it.
I'm about to transition to Tish because her context is she's growing people beyond the space where they've never tried to grow before. So Tish, I wanted you to kind of chime in here and talk to us about your context there in Bridgehampton and how you're navigating and moving those people into this uncharted water beyond where they've ever thought to think.
First of all, give people the name of your church because I want them, if you're looking for innovative ministry and you want to see a diversity, of course, we don't have to, you're looking at this beautiful Nubian queen. So we don't have to give you gender. That doesn't matter. She is an exceptional pastor, period.
Thank you.
And that doesn't come with gender. That comes with spiritual authority, kingdom appointment. I wanted to give you the name of her church. I need you to tune in. Go back and watch the message she did about the horses. I'm telling you. I mean, and she may be scuba diving and you never know. She is the Anthony Bourdain, the George Zimmerman. Who else is what was the show I gave you the other day, Stephen, that you said you'd already watched? Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay, that's it.
She is that for the church. Like her and Stephen need to go on a tour and just find the most
with it.
Of
Come
course,
on, yeah.
Stephen wants to have us in Dubai. That's
right.
our missionary journey.
Yeah, exactly.
But give the name of your church and then talk about how you're leading these people from the future, not to the future.
Sure. So first, thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be a return guest. I feel like I'm super honored. So thank you. But I wanted to piggyback just on something you said. You said that leaders have these conferences, right, to sort of show off what they have done and never really, I guess, give any teaching tools or never encourage people sort of to duplicate. And I think that's because they're afraid someone's going to take it and do it better. And that's the whole idea, right? That if you are going to copy something, the idea is not to copy, the idea is to take it and do it better. The idea is to improve on something that's already great. And I think that's the fear. And I could talk about that in so many different spheres. And
talk about it. This your platform. You're here because, but you just said something, Tish, and I'm looking forward to what you're going to share because you're exactly right. Anything you share with somebody, you're not sharing it just for them to duplicate it, but to develop it.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
So expand on that, elucidate that, and talk about it in every context you choose.
So I know we said we're not going to do gender, but that's a major, obviously, part of my context, especially as a woman pastor.
Right.
So what I have found, and I recently had a conversation with one of my mentors about this, what I have found is that the people who have pushed my train the most have been men and not women.
Wow.
It has been the brethren that have surrounded me, that have encouraged me, that have pushed me to be my best self and beyond, starting from my own father and brothers to my pastor and my father in ministry, all the way up until people like Stephen, yourself. It has been men that have advocated for me. It has been men that have opened a lot of doors for me. And why I say that is because in speaking to one of my female mentors, I expressed this to her and I said, I was really surprised. I recently preached on a pretty large platform and I was very surprised and I wasn't looking for accolades or anything. What shocked me was the amount of my brethren that called me, reached out to me, emailed me, posted it, reposted it. And I was shocked at how many women did not.
Wow.
And the one woman that did was my mentor who, and I said, I was really surprised by that. I said, you have really been the only woman outside of my colleagues and contemporaries who has pushed my train. And she explained it's because they don't want to make room for you. Because women have fought so long to get their space, they're not trying to make room for anybody else in that space. Wow. And every once in a while, you may get someone that will bring you in, but it's rare. And so I thought that was very interesting. So when you say this idea of people not wanting to really teach you, they teach you enough to make it seem like they're teachers or that they're advocates or mentors. I remember you guys talking about that whole To Catch a Predator mentorship thing. They kind of bring you that far. But I also find that the intimidation comes from, God forbid you being a halfway attractive woman. That's a whole that's a whole nother animal, right? So so I just wanted to piggyback off it from that lens, is that the idea is that sisters are pushing each other and advocating for each other, but in a lot of spaces, that's not the case. And so I have made it my business to be the one sister that does not do that. If you eat, I eat. That's how I feel about it.
I love it.
And so, Stephen, about church, right? So First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton. First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton is a 96-year-old historic African-American church.
Wow.
And what I always, and I'm the first woman pastor in the history of the church. When I came to this church in a small town USA, people hear New York, they hear the Hamptons, but this is a very rural context. Literally, horses around the corner, cornfields down the street. I could pick my own strawberries up the road. Like, these are not New Yorkers that I pastor. I pastor Southern people. I pastor folks from the South. And so that makes it very interesting. My dynamic is interesting in that, yes, it is the Hamptons. So in the summer, it is a playground for the rich.
Right.
In the fall and winter months, it is very blue collar, small business owned people who came here as farmers and migrated here in the 50s and 60s and built families. So the context for me is so bizarre and so different. And when we talk about flowing, I'm constantly fluid and having to change in those ways. For me, coming from the city and coming from Brooklyn, what has been the biggest adjustment has been the small town mentality. I'm not used to small town USA. I'm not used to people seeing my car and saying, Pastor, you was at King Cullen today. That is not, that's not my jam.
Right.
So it has been a challenge to kind of bring them to the next level. Here's what happened. When I came, what I did not expect is that white people would come with me. They were waiting for something new. They were waiting for something refreshing. The pastor that was before me, from what I was told, was very fire and brimstone. We don't accept a lot of people. And so when they elected this young Black woman from Brooklyn with a mohawk at the time, they were like, oh, snap, we doing something now. And so I told them from the beginning, if you didn't want change, you should have never elected me. By virtue of electing me, you've told the world you're ready for a change.
Right.
And so now you cannot act surprised when I come in and do things a little bit differently. And so from the very beginning, I think I challenged them. One of the things that I think I did, which was different, is I can't tell you what my IQ is, Ricky. I really can't. Okay. I can tell you, though, that my EQ is off the charts. Okay. I can tell you that. And what I knew was that my strength lies in my emotional intelligence. And so to a congregation that had been bereft of love and kindness for 3 years, that was my first priority.
Right.
And love and kindness was foreign to them. Who knew that the key, right, to building this church would just be to love them?
Wow.
Just be to love them. Just be to have your door open and people feel comfortable to come into your office, whereas before they would stand at the door with fear and trembling.
Oh, wow.
So it was small changes like that really made a huge difference. And I always tell people not to be afraid of low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Low-hanging fruit is a great asset. People think you have to make big moves when you pivot, right? A pivot is a small move. Pivot is not a big move. Pivot is a small move that makes a big difference. And so we always have to look for those opportunities in ministry and in business, low-hanging fruit, things that seem like they're astronomical, but you didn't do a lot, but it made a huge difference. And for me, love was one of them. And then the next part was certainly my creativity, which started way before COVID hit. I would make it a point to preach from the floor, to do these crazy dynamic illustrations. I was telling Stephen the other day when I preached Samson, I actually put pillars in the church. And I kind of walked the text, and every time Samson messed up, I'd put a red flag on the floor until the point where the red flags made a trail to the pillars on how he got there. Wow. So I was doing a lot of this.
That's good.
Thank you. From the very beginning. And so they were not used to that. I did a lot of those things from the very beginning. So by the time we got to COVID, it was kind of almost second nature.
What area have you been challenged? So since creativity was one of those areas where you say, okay, I already have this intrinsically, this is an opportunity for me just to do more of what I've been doing. in a different space, which gives me more range of motion, right? So now I got more room to do it because I've got literally the whole world. I can go outside, I can do whatever I want to do. But on the flip side of that, where have you been stretched the most?
Leadership.
In what way?
In being challenged in my leadership.
Okay.
Let me see. In my professional career, I was always just trusted to do my job until I proved otherwise. And that's my leadership and my management style. I trust people to do their job until they prove otherwise. I am not a micromanager.
Okay.
I firmly believe everybody has a lane, every talent and ability in which they operate, right? And I trust everyone to operate in those abilities, again, until they give me a reason not to.
I got you.
When I came here, that was not the case. I was challenged at every single turn. Why do we have to do this? That's not the way we've done it. That's not, we don't like the way you communicate. You don't communicate enough. That's not true. I don't communicate the way you want me to communicate. That's what this is, right? It's not that I don't communicate the way you want me to. And I very recently had to, quite frankly, say, I have never asked my executive to adjust their communication style to suit me. My job is always to adjust my communication style to suit my executive. And I'm expecting y'all to do the same. So it's been things like that. And I firmly believe, again, gender is part of my is a huge part of my context, right? As a pastor. Sure. And I firmly believe that if I were a man, most of these things would not be an issue. I feel like I have to say things multiple times, and maybe it's because I say it in a higher octave.
Wow.
But I firmly believe that if I were a man, I would not have to repeat myself as much. I would not have to support my arguments as much. I literally have to come to meetings with full-blown notes and points of discussion, sometimes in order to get my point across. And that is difficult for me because I've always been trusted as a leader to do my job. And so to come here in a place where, for all intents and purposes, I'm the CEO of this operation.
Right, exactly.
And yes. Challenged at every turn. That's uncomfortable. And it's been a stretch for me. It's been very difficult for me. Especially when I trust everybody else to do what they do, to be experts. Yeah.
What would you say to the pastor, whether they're in a metropolis or whether they're in a rural setting like you are? You spoke at the beginning of your conversation about some transcendental aspects of your pastorate. And the fact that you realize that these people were bereft of love and affirmation, and how you wanted to give them that, and the power of the low-hanging fruit. And I totally agree with that. So what is it that you would say to a pastor who says, you know what, I'm in foreign territory, I've never been here before, I'm great with the letter of the scripture and communicating scripture, they don't come with intrinsic creativity, but I love my people. I love God. I want to make an impact on the culture. What would you say to them to reach for that will help their ministry to transcend pandemic so that they can be sustainable and make a difference, even if this persists, ad nauseum infinitum?
I would say, first of all, authenticity is key.
Say that again.
Authenticity is key.
Yes.
If there were ever a time where people needed to see authentic leaders, it is now. There is absolutely no way you can minister to people who have been crying almost every day for the last 4 months and not admit that you're in that same space.
So they can't get by with the person they've been perpetrating as for the last 20 years?
They could try. They can try. But as one of my pastor friends said, won't he do it, ain't gonna fix this. So you can try. You can try if you want to. But here's the thing. As another friend says, COVID is a snitch. It's a snitch. It has revealed so much about our congregations, but even more so who we are, right?
Yes.
We've learned a lot about who I am through COVID-19. It has revealed a whole lot. So you can try, but authenticity is key. And I dare say that has been the indictment against the churches, because we are not transparent. We are not real. That's what's keeping people out of the church.
Right.
You know, you kind of try to want to wake up like we've been this our whole lives, and that ain't true. And people in desire to see authenticity. So preachers have to be real about where they are in this space. I'm not okay. I've been running on fumes for 4 months. I'm done. Like, I have hit the wall. I've gone past the wall, and I'm at another wall now, right? Because the reality is this: most of us were on the verge of burnout before COVID-19 happened. And when it happened, we had no choice but to get a second wind, because that's what leaders do. And so we had to get a second wind up in order to push. But now we are pushed into almost month 5. So we have to really dig deep now and find it where we didn't think we could find it. So we have to, I think authenticity is key. The other thing that I would say is nothing is wasted in God's economy. You have to use every single thing at your disposal. We are at the point now where some of us are grasping at straws, and that's okay. You just find the straw that's going to work for you in this moment. But nothing is wasted in God's economy. Know your story. Everything that you have been through can inform where you are right now, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit churchy for a second.
No, go ahead.
But I think about David, right? David's preparation and knowing how to defeat Goliath didn't happen in that moment. It happened because he had been protecting his sheep and had been there before. David always knew his story. He always understood his history and always knew how to reach back to a previous experience to support his present experience. And you got to know your story. Everything that all of us have been through in our lives can inform where you are today. There is nothing wasted in God's economy. And so that would be my approach to a pastor. You got to dig deep. You got to find out when have you been here before? Because you've been here before.
Right.
And what did you do in that moment? And how can you pull from that experience to fix what's going on right now? Let me tell you something. I've had a crazy life. I always say my life has been like that feather floating on the breeze in Forrest Gump. I was supposed to be on Broadway. I was supposed to be a Broadway actress right now, right? I have been a pageant queen. I've been an actress. I've done a lot of things in my life. But here's what I have found. Everything that I've done in my life informs who I am as a pastor today. That's why I can stand in a field and preach in front of horses. It's a show. It's a play. I was trained as an actress. I know how to do that.
Right.
How do I smile in the face of people who sometimes get on my nerves? If we on the Raw channel, right?
We on the Raw channel.
Yes.
This is the Revolution After Dark.
Yeah, you know what? You just renamed it. You just renamed it.
Revolution After Dark. There we go. So, this is the platform. If I can be honest, there are people who get on my nerves. How do I smile in their face anyway? Because I was a pageant queen. I know how to smile under pressure. Right. And so everything that you have been through, Ricky, you're having this beautiful family. What does that mean, right? How do you translate this large family into ministry? What does it mean to minister to a large family? Stephen, your lineage is amazing. Your pedigree is amazing. How does that translate into ministry? Gary, right? This whole turn of coming 30 and your Godfidence. How does all that translate into ministry for you? So everything that we have been through informs and can inform and improve where we are today. That's what I would say to Pastor.
That's exceptional. And Stephen, I would have to say that quality of authenticity, I believe that's the secret to productivity.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Show me a billionaire, and show me a Jeff Bezos. I'll show you authenticity. Show me a Warren Buffett. Show me a Steve Jobs. I'll show you authenticity. And I think that's what pastors. Jesus knew what he was saying when he said to disciples, "The children of this world are wiser than the children of light." He knew what he was saying, because what he was saying is, don't lose yourself while you're trying to gain me.
Yes.
And I think because we have a lot of spiritually oriented people watching this show, and that's very critical. You don't come to God to lose you. You come to God to get the rest of you.
Yes, sir.
If he's your creator, he's your architect, then he's holding your blueprint. So when you come to him, you don't discard, as Tish was saying, you don't
Yeah.
get rid of you being a Broadway actress. You don't get rid of your pageantry. You don't get rid of your propensity for drama uh, and dramatic themes. You bring all of that to the table with you because God designed it to be a part of your creative narrative for what he
Can
wants
I
you
say
to do.
something else, Ricky? Authenticity leads to opportunity.
Yes.
Authenticity is what led me to this pastorate. Had I not been my authentic self, I wouldn't be the pastor of this church today. I came here on a whim to worship. And then when I realized that they were without a pastor, that kind of broke my heart. I know
Wow.
what it's like to have a church without pastoral leadership. It's like herding cats. I knew they were in distress. And so I couldn't, as a able-bodied clergy person, not offer my help and my services.
Right.
And I've never done this before, and I've never done it since. I gave the reverend that was here at the time, I gave him my card and said, listen, I'm here a lot. If for some reason you need someone to help with Bible study or serve communion, I never asked to preach. If you need someone to teach Bible study, if you need someone to handle the ordinances, I'll make myself available to you. And the rest, as they say, is history. But that's authentically who I am. I can't see a wounded puppy and not like pick it up off the side of the road. That's just who I am, right? And so that led to an opportunity. Authenticity leads to opportunity. And so people, pastors, business people are looking to grow. Authenticity will open the door for you every single time. And a door that's only available to you because, hello, authenticity.
Somebody made the statement, be yourself because everybody else is taken.
It's taken.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
it.
That puts a challenge on leaders who serve in that mentor capacity to stop trying to make that person that you're mentoring your puppet and your carbon copy,
Yeah.
and challenges that mentee to glean from that mentor, take their positive traits, acknowledge their negative traits, but still create your own path. It's always interesting when I go to hear other preachers and they are mimicking my father. And I'm like, I have his last name and his DNA, and I have
Oh.
purposely sought to not sound anything like him to create my own lane so that when he dies, and I don't die with him.
Right.
Right.
And they got the voice just like them, and they tuning up like them.
Wow.
I'm like, sir, can you please discern who you are,
Right.
and have your own sense of creativity? But I want to shift to Gary here on that creativity piece, because for so long, since we're dealing with a group of people who are tuned in, who are church people, we have shunned the creative aspect and creative genius of people.
Right.
The creatives have been ostracized from the church. And you'll still even hear church people saying, we don't need the world coming into the church. But God gave us all of these gifts and these talents and these abilities. It ain't our fault that people in secular spaces acknowledge those gifts and put a salary to those gifts and use those gifts. Why is the church lagging behind and then wants to demonize the gifted? Gary, speak to us, sir.
The church is actually afraid of anything that is not what has not looked like them in the last few years. So Tisha said something about change. You know, by inviting her to be this pastor, you've accepted that I'm going to change what we already know. The word change literally means I'm coming in and I'm going to do it totally opposite of what you've been doing. You know, people are like, well, I embrace change. No, but you're really afraid of it because you don't embrace it. You're really afraid of it.
You like the concept of it. you want
like the
credit
word
for it. Right.
It's a cute word to use.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But really it's a frightening thing, because by me coming in, it's saying that it's not me saying that what you've done is bad. It's not me saying that what you did was wrong. It's just saying that we're about to chart a new path.
Yes.
You know, and literally, I just finished we're talking about how pressure and pain is what we're experiencing in this COVID experience. We're experiencing pressure in all these different areas that we never had to before. But if we can find the opportunity in the obstacle, you know what I'm saying? Literally, pressure is the pathway to purpose.
You going way too fast. Are you kidding me right now? So just
Where
rewind.
you want me?
The, deal with this finding the opportunity, because we're talking about going from pandemic to productivity. We're not just looking at possibilities now. This is going to be here for a while. We've got to know, we've got to understand how to operate in it.
Yes.
And not just try to get through it. So start right there, talking about the opportunity in the obstacle.
Well, I think that all of what everybody said today kind of leads us to that. Mm-hmm. You know, Stephen was talking about pastors going to conferences and, you know, copying that, and they're not. What's happening is people are being good students and note takers, but they're not good teachers and authenticators.
Yeah.
They're not in the vision. So the issue is, if you don't have vision, you can't even see the opportunity.
So you're saying
when
I can be a good
obstacle.
Student and not a good steward.
Yes.
I can take the right notes, but yet not make the right application.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. It's like the goose that laid the golden egg, right? If you steal the egg, you just have an egg. But I'm the goose. Right. I can lay another one.
Right.
You're working off of the one thing that I made.
It,
like, that's cool. Good luck. I hope you had fun with it. But you got to come back.
Right.
You know, because it's not authentically you.
Right.
You know, this authenticity is everything. And like Tish said, it's COVID is a snitch. Like, that in itself, it's exposing everything. And if you're not true to yourself, if you're not true to who you are, you can't even see the opportunity in the obstacle, because you can't identify that you're in the obstacle.
How have you had to pivot personally in this? And I know personally, but I want you to talk about it. That's why I invited you here, because it has been amazing and inspiring to watch you make a hard shift. And Tish gave away the secret of pivot. Y'all should cash app her for that, because most people think pivot is in the big thing you do. I can't wait to make my pivot, Doc. You know, no, it's in those small things. So y'all stop laughing so hard. But that's, you know, that's what we hear, right? I mean, and the thing is, they ain't gonna do that, whatever it is they talking about doing. But Tish just exposed it's in those little things. And those little things come out of your authenticity. It comes out of your deliberation. So Gary, how have you had to I've watched you make a sharp pivot. How have you made that? What has been exciting about that? And what has been harrowing? What has been scary about your pivot?
So the biggest pivot has been me coming out from the background and into the forefront. That has been the biggest pivot. For many years, I've been, as you expressed, the creative. So behind the scenes, creating content and designs and how things should be moving forward for many leaders and teachers, et cetera. And I felt that God was saying, look, I've put something in you that you authentically have to deliver to the world. So actually, it started after me being a guest on your show for the first time. You know, I launched my own platform, and literally God has been dealing with me about coming out of my comfort zone, because there's no growth in the comfort zone. It's a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. Right. So literally what Tisha said about pivoting, I said this on my show a few weeks ago, small steps lead to big wins. Literally, if you can just acknowledge it's a small step, it's not the big step. You know, they'll get to the big step. You'll eventually get there, but it's the small pivot. So I think for me, the challenge has been really the time management, and then the being able to not just do the new thing, but maintain what I'm already responsible for. So for me, I think I've coined this phrase, no sleep until I'm 30, literally is what I'm on right now. 30th birthday is literally in 2 weeks. And it's just like, I am on team no sleep, because there's things that I have to do. So there's naps here and there, throughout the early part of the day, late, you fit it in where you can. And I can use this as an actual example. The second to last show that I shot last week, I had an issue in my home studio, like the air went out. So I had an issue and I wasn't able to record as usual. And it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Like, I can't just not do it. And God challenged me to go outside of my normal space. So I went downtown and I took my little camera, went downtown by the planetarium, by the lakefront, and I recorded the episode. It was probably the best episode I've shot. Not only because like it didn't require anything. God had all the elements, lighting, everything. I didn't have to do nothing. But it was beautiful scenery. And it pushed me outside of my comfort zone, as well as, I wouldn't have made that choice had I not been compromised. So just instead of saying, well, I can't do it because, this is the way I've always done it. Well, I'll wait till next week. No, pivot, small step. You're doing the same thing in a new way. Yeah.
And using what you have. Again, we keep making reference to Tish because she laid the whole dissertation out, Stephen. So, yeah. I mean, what else we gonna do? But she talked about the power of low-hanging fruit. We taking all those fruit that she put that branch down where we can reach it. We about to strip this joker. But she talked about. Yes.
I'm sorry. Nope. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I just wanted to piggyback on something that Gary said. I think that's the key, those small steps.
Yeah.
So baseball, right? I think people are always looking for the home run. Yeah. They believe that the home run is, but you can watch a baseball game for hours and never see a home run.
Yeah.
And really what happens is baseball is won by covering bases. That's really how the game is won. And we lose in ministry and in business when we don't cover the bases. Ooh. Trying to be focused on the home run. Wow. That's really what pivot is. It's covering the bases. It's looking for windows of opportunity. So even with basketball, when we're talking about the pivot, right? We all know, and I'm not a huge basketball person, but I know enough to know. But the idea of the basketball pivot is a strategic pivot, right? The idea is to not only cover yourself defensively, but also look for windows of opportunity where you can pass the ball. It's a strategic pivot, right? It's where you find your opening to take a shot. And that's what Corona has given us. It's given us an opening to take a shot where we didn't even expect it. Gary alluded to that too. Like this idea that it's like, well, I had to go somewhere and it was the best lighting. It was the best this. And I guess I challenge people. First of all, the Great Commission was never for people to come to us. It was always for us to go out, right? And so this idea that everything had to happen in these four walls is false. And we have the greatest examples of that. Jesus never did it. God is the greatest example of order and creativity. Deborah sat by a palm tree. She was like, if y'all want to sit with me, you're going to catch me under this tree, right? So it's like the examples have already been set. So this idea that we have to stay in this box is false. It's if we believe what we preach is false. So I feel like we should have been doing this a long time ago. Right. I love what you said, Gary. God had provided the natural light. It doesn't get any better than that. The setting, the seat, more than we could ever do with a glass pulpit or anything else. Yeah. God already took care of it. And there's a beauty in knowing that. But I want to also encourage you, Gary. I love what you said. I really love what you said about no sleep. I think it was the Beastie Boys, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. That resonates with me. But I have a saying, and I want to give this saying to you. I say, good things come to she who hustles while she waits. So I'm giving that to you. I want you to say that for the next 2 weeks. Good things come to he who hustles while he waits. I love your hustle mentality. I love your spirit. And I wish you the absolute best and all that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Rick, I'm making an executive decision right now that these two do not come back because they have taken over this show.
Oh, you realize we're the audience, right?
Yes.
We should be on Facebook in the comments with Demi, because we should be with her just watching the show. Because I'm just sitting there like, okay, I'm a prop. That's all.
Or we can sell to you all the rights to the show, and have your way.
Yeah, exactly. And we will support it. We'll promote it and everything else. Yeah.
We'll go in and answer the 3 questions too, and just follow you.
Well, since you made an executive decision, it doesn't require a second, so I'm game. I'm with you. I'll say this, Stephen, before you take us to the close.
Yeah.
What's so powerful about this, and I hope leaders are getting this, especially pastors, because Stephen and I started this show, even though we speak the language of leadership in various contexts, from entrepreneurship to executive leadership. We can speak in a lot of contexts, but at the core of who we are, we're pastors, we're leaders, sure. We care about people. And so that's what prompted us to start this literally the week before shutdown, because we saw what was coming. Yes. And so we're at lunch and we was like, hey, we got to do something. I was like, what's the name for it, man? Let's go after it. I think the key is pay attention to what you already have around you. You don't have to go find something else. You've heard Pastor Williams talk about it. You've heard Gary talk about it. Everything you need is already in your hands. The creativity is how you use it. It's not you copying. Copying what somebody else does is not creativity.
Yes, sir.
But knowing how to use what you have is the key. So I just wanted to drop that there for leaders, because you can ready to make something beautiful out of what's already in front of you if you'll just be willing to apply yourself to it. Just little things, just small things, and use it and put all of your ingenuity into it, your passion, and watch what comes out of it.
Yeah. There are 3 things that I picked up from what has been shared by these brilliant minds
so
today.
Much. Good gracious.
You got to pursue harmony. You've got to employ grace, and you've got to employ strategy.
That's good.
Yeah. And I think that's how we're going to be able to pivot in this pandemic and move to a place of productivity and prosperity. You don't have to struggle. I'm sick of hearing the struggle stories. Right. You don't have to struggle. At some level, struggle is a choice. And oftentimes, because we've been so comfortable struggling, we don't know how to function in a space of abundance and winning. And so I would that we change our mindset today based upon what's been shared with us to look forward to the future, and the future being great, the future being the season of winning, a place of prosperity and productivity. On behalf of my co-host, Dr. RickyAllmon, I want to thank everybody who answered the questions, joined the group, got this amazing content today. Please Cash App if there was a blessing that you received by the words that were shared by our co-host today. Please send the Cash App their way. Follow them on social media platforms. Engage their business. Tish, when is the book coming out?
The book will be available for pre-order the 2nd week in August. And
all right.
It's titled I See You, Sis. Inspirations from Women of the Bible Heroic Women of the Bible Hidden in Plain Sight.
Website?
thatladymin.com.
Awesome. Gary, you got anything coming up that people need to be ready for? Or is it too early to release that detail yet?
It might be a little early, but I will say this.
Hold on, Gary. You on this platform. We need
I got you.
We need an exclusive.
I got you.
Okay, all right.
Got you.
All right.
Listen. All right. So first things first, you can find me on GAFJUN on all platforms. I'm doing Gladiator TV every Thursday at 7 p.m. That's number 1. All right. Number 2, be tuned in to my Instagram. On my 30th birthday, August 13th, I will be making big announcements. Okay. So all you need to know is August 13th, be tuned in to GAFJUN and Instagram. So that's GAFJUN on Instagram. I got something not just about me, but for us. So I'm excited to share. I can't wait. I'm excited about Tisha's book. And as I see in the back, I see you, sis. So.
Awesome. Again, thank you too for joining us today. Everybody who tuned in, thank you. We appreciate you. We'll see you same time next week. But here's the thing. You got to bring somebody with you next week.
Yes.
You got to invite a guest to join, to connect. Follow Dr. Ricky Allmon. Go to RickyAllmon.org. He's got amazing content, resources there that will challenge and change your life.
Hold on. Because I got to set this up because he's not going to do himself justice. Listen.
Right.
Stephen A. Thurston has just launched a very innovative engagement via Zoom. It's actually launching this week. So go to his website, StephenThurston.com. Follow him at Stephen J. Thurston on all platforms. Make sure you connect with him so you can get more details because you don't want to miss this. He has launched the Mirror Moment movement, and then he's going to be featured in a new segment. I'm so excited about this. I've got a new segment that's coming out. As a matter of fact, Tish doesn't even know it, so nobody tell her, but she will actually be the second person that's on this segment for the month of September.
I won.
She don't even know. So, but I got a new segment. So Gary comes on an hour before me at 7 p.m. He did that by design. I come on at a new time, 8 p.m. Central Time, because I had to look out for my Eastern home people, you know, my Eastern folk, because I didn't want to make sure I mess with their bedtime and stuff. So they can watch at 9. You don't want to miss it. Stephen's going to be my guest. I can't tell you anything about it. It's just going to be bananas. And Tish, you're going to love it because it's got some East Coast flavor. I'll tell you offline when we get off in about a few seconds. But it's going to be ridiculous. But connect to StephenThurston.com. Is that this Tuesday night, Stephen?
Yes, we'll be on Zoom this Tuesday night.
What time?
Registration, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And
I'm sorry for saying Stephen A. Smith.
It's all right.
I'm thinking Stephen A. Smith, ESPN. It's StephenThurston.com.
If I can get that Stephen A. Smith salary, you can call me whatever you want.
I'll speak it. We'll go ahead and speak it right now. But thank you all for joining us. Make sure you cash app everybody you see on here with what they dropped on your life today. Go and support them, follow them, invite other people to the group, answer the 4 questions. As a matter of fact, underneath this video, give us some other subjects you want us to talk about.
Sure.
Or maybe you're doing something. Maybe you put out a book and you want to be a guest. This is your group. This is your show. As you can see today, me and Stephen just show up to make sure the lights get turned on in the room.
That's it. That's all.
This is y'all. So Tish and Gary were the hosts. We literally the lowly co-hosts on the show today. Thank y'all. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week at 11:30. I'll holla.